That is also streaming live, so try not to get in front of that one.
Is that okay now? Okay. First of all, it's a wonderful turnout. I'm sure both candidates are delighted. The League is doing this with several co-sponsors, not only CANA, but also the West Hill Ministerial Fellowship and also the Capital Area Council of Churches. For those of you who may not have come to a debate before run by the League of Women Voters, let me just explain a few things. There are a variety of formats that the League uses. The one chosen tonight and signed on by both candidates is going to be this way. They each have an opportunity, and they chose by lots, for the opening and closing statements. Their opening statements can be a maximum of 3 minutes, and the closing statements a maximum of 5 minutes. During the debate itself, the procedure will be, questions will be given to me. Hopefully, we'll have everybody who's interested. I don't know if you know this, but there'll be no questions from the floor, but any questions that come on a card, and if you haven't gotten one and you wish to ask a question, put your hand up. There are several League members who will come to you and give you a card. I know this sounds incredibly ridiculous, but sometimes we have great questions, but we can't read them. So would you do me a favor and try to write legibly, otherwise I stumble over the questions. I will alternate the questioning. First I will start with Mr. Ellis for the first question, then Mr. Jennings, and then for the next question, Mr. Jennings will answer first, and then Mr. Ellis. Let me see if there's anything else. For those of you who don't know, the League is also a nonpartisan organization. We neither support nor oppose political candidates or any parties. This is something that always happens. I have to check my own first. Could you all turn off your cell phones? The last time I did it today, the cell phones rang because people came in late. I can't quite see everybody with the lights. But if you turn off your cell phones and put them on vibrate, it makes it a little easier for the candidate who might be in the midst of answering a question. And there is a time allotment, as I said. There is a woman in the front row who is going to alert both myself as the moderator and the candidates of the time frame. So when there is a minute left, she will flip a chart that says a minute, 30 seconds, and then it will say stop. At which time, if they don't stop within the prescribed end of sentence, I will have to stop. And this is one other thing. There are many people who come to debates because they support a particular candidate, which means they're not supporting another. And then there are many people who come because they want to hear what the candidates say themselves. So I ask all of you, regardless of which category you fit into, to extend not only to your candidate, but to the one you might not be supporting, that same courtesy that you would like extended to you. This is not a political rally tonight. It is a debate. And I believe it's being, you have many channels here who will be picking up part of it. So I think there's almost nothing else for me to say except to welcome you and to say that by lot, it was Mr. Jennings who received number 1, so he will make the first opening statement.
Never been so quiet. Well, welcome everyone, and I appreciate you taking time out to come here and listen to Corey and myself. And you know, I can only reflect on when I took over in my first day in 1994 after serving 20 years at Albany High School in a public school district. I made a commitment to this city, and the reason I ran for mayor then, because when kids came to my office, I would see that there was a lot of hopelessness. They didn't see a lot of things going on that were positive in the city. And I said, well, how do I change that? Other than discussing what was going on in their lives here at the high school. I said, run for mayor. And I didn't think I was going to, and a lot of people didn't. But you know what? It was a great campaign. We had a great discussion. And I said, you know what? I'm going to make a difference in the lives of our children first in this city. Because we've lost too many of them. We continue to lose too many of them. And as far as I'm concerned, the mayor can be a catalyst for a lot of change. And I've been articulating that message for many, many years. And you know, one of it was obviously making our city a safer community. making it, giving our kids a brighter future. I had no doubt we could fulfill this commitment, but I came in '94 and I said, now how do I do this? So I brought everyone together. I started reaching out to civic leaders, neighborhood leaders, other elected officials, and said, look, we have to do this together. And I've tried to do that. Set the politics aside. Let's make sure that we do the best thing we possibly can to improve the quality of life in the city. Yes, we have undergone the suburbanization of the 80s and the 70s and 80s where everyone left the city, left the urban areas in the state. And we were going to change that. So we really wanted to stop the decades of disinvestment in this city, which is what we've tried to do. Because if you bring things here, you bring businesses here, you create jobs, you create opportunities. And that's what we had to do. I also asked them to work with me to create facilities where children could go after school, before school, during school, on weekends, during the summer months, to make sure our kids were engaged, so that they weren't doing the things that get them into trouble. And basically, what's happened is a lot of new businesses, new residents, new people have moved into the city. And yes, we have challenges. There is absolutely no doubt that we have challenges. And you don't turn a city around in 4 years, 8 years, 16 years. You have to make sure that you do what's right. I'm getting 1 minute already. So my goal was to get new investment here. We've got $6 billion in new investment. We'd educate our kids through colleges, they leave here. Wrong. We talk about nanotech, we talk about what's happening in the city. We want to keep everyone here. 2,500 new jobs there. A lot of investment as far as, and that was taking a lot of us working together. Yes, we received the All-America City Award. And people say, what's that all about? That was all about, we brought kids actually that went through programs in the city and the school district, and they said, this is great. What kind of programs do you have? How do you improve on the programs? And 30 mayors or leaders got together, and we were one of 10 cities out of 350 that were successful. Public safety has always been a priority and will remain a priority. It is my #1 priority. We have to continue to work on both. I don't care in the last few years it's gone down 20%. I want it to continue to go down. And that's what we have to work on to make sure we do that. But I'm committed to sound budgeting, prudent management, and delivering the highest quality of services to our residents. And I guess my time is out, but I also want to say thank you. Children's welfare, economic development, financial stability of the city have been my 3 main issues since I took over mayor, and they will remain my 3 main focuses as I continue. Thank you. Thank you.
Tonight possible. People ask me, why do I want to be mayor of Albany? I tell them I'm running for mayor of Albany because I believe in this city. I'm proud to have been born and raised in Arbor Hill in the south end part of Albany. Growing up in Arbor Hill and South End, my parents instilled in me the need for a good education. I was lucky enough to have mentors and role models that lived in those neighborhoods. Right here in Albany, I learned the importance of community, of helping people in need. And most important, I learned that in life, you've got to stand up for what you believe. And that's what I've tried to do throughout my entire life. I've seen what can happen when people come together to make a difference. That's why I worked as a community organizer and as a union organizer. That's why I ran for common council, and that's why I'm running for mayor. We all know the city faces many challenges. Mayor Jennings says that after 16 years, he still needs more time to finish the job. He promised to address these issues, just like he did in 2005, in 2001, and in 1997. But these problems need to be still dealt with all the time, not just during an election year. Why has the number of abandoned vacant buildings grown if we've been addressing these issues? Why has the taxpayers' burdens doubled? Why do people not feel safe in their neighborhoods if we've been effectively working on these problems? And why do the people across this city feel like the city is not working for them? I've been out there talking to a lot of people in Albany, and what I hear over and over and over again, it's time for a change. I am that candidate, and I'm ready to deliver that change that this city needs. We can overcome these challenges and meet our tremendous potential by bringing in a new era of open and accountable government, by investing in our neighborhoods and getting by and getting serious about public safety. We can do this with a new leader who listens to the people and who works with the people, who will take responsibility for providing solutions instead of making excuses and sweeping problems under the rug. A leader who will answer to the people of this city. That's the kind of leader I will be as your mayor. So I'm looking forward to tonight, to listening to your concerns, to answering your questions, and discussing how we can move Albany forward. Thank you.
Okay. I have a lot of questions here. I have no particular order in which I'm going to do them. I'm going to see if we can alternate interesting questions. People have signed their names, other people haven't. There was no requirement. So we'll begin with the first question, and I'll just take the top one. I'll start with Mr. Ellis, okay? And let me remind you that each candidate tonight will have 2 minutes to respond. They don't have to use up the 2 minutes. They just can't go over. Okay, the first question, Mr. Ellis. I've lived in Albany for 13 years, and my house has been reassessed 3 times, each time resulting in a tax increase. Please address the frequency and the need for this. How about a moratorium on reassessing?
We've had, out on the campaign trail, many people talk about the assessment process and how it seems to not be fair across the city. And we do need to look at how we reassess our properties. We've heard there's a need to reassess properties over and over again. But the one thing we've known that this reassessment process has not been fair to most citizens. And not enough citizens know about how to change their reassessments when they get it. So as mayor, we're going to actively make sure that every individual is assessed properly and fairly, and know when they want to challenge their assessment, that they know how to do it, and they have the ability to do it.
Thank you. Do you want me to repeat the question, Mr. Jennings? No?
No, fine.
Okay, thank you.
You know, and I think one of the things that I did when I came in as mayor is I looked at the inequities as far as this city had not been reassessed in 50 years. And I said, that's not fair. You had houses next to each other, one that was assessed at 30,000, one was assessed at 70,000. And I said, you know, we have to do the right thing and reassess. People said to me, Mayor, you can't do that because they're not going to elect you again. I said, well, what's fair is fair. Let's do the right thing. So what we've done is we've gone through a process because this city was 74% tax exempt when I became the mayor. And how do you run a budget with 74% of the property tax exempt? 61% of your taxes go to the school district, which we have no control over, okay? And you have to understand that. And as far as I'm concerned, the assessment process has been set up, has been fair. We want people to make sure that they can appeal their process, appeal their assessments. We went through, we did a full city reassessment. We're going to continue to that. One of the good things about it in the city is that, you know, we're not suffering like a lot of other urban areas in the state and in the country. A lot of the sale prices and the properties that are going right now have remained at that sale price. The people are getting what they're asking, which means this is a lot healthier community, this capital region, than a lot of places in the state of New York. We have one of the lowest unemployment rates. We have properties that are increasing in value. And I worked very hard to get the South Mall as part of a pilot payment rule of taxes for the city of Albany. That meant $500 million over 30 years. And I did the same thing with the Harriman campus that was reassessed, which would have given us $10 million a year for 30 years. Passed the Senate, passed the Assembly, was vetoed by the governor. And I asked him to be very, very careful about looking at how we do this, because the inequities in the assessments and the way money is given out to cities in the state are all, there's no formula for it. Per capita in Buffalo is over $500. We're about $160 a head. That's not fair. And I've been articulating that since I took over as mayor. We're going to continue to do that, and I have to stop. So thank you very much.
The next question is, and Mr. Jennings, why don't you respond first to this? What's your vision and timetable for making Albany a more pedestrian/bike-friendly city?
That's a real good question, because we had a meeting last week with my economic development people, and there was a master plan that we've been working on to make this city much more bicycle, pedestrian friendly, and we've looked at major streets. We'll have an announcement probably in the next several weeks about what's we're working with members. I'm sure people are here that have been working with us to make sure that we do the right things. You know, we talk about infrastructure and rebuilding infrastructure. When we look at Delaware Avenue, for example, that was a city street that we received almost $14 million to revitalize, to move over. And I was told after we had gotten the money, the stimulus packages were announced, that the governor's people wanted to make it a stimulus package. And I said, you can't make it a stimulus package, it's not new jobs, because we have the money already. Where's that money going to go that we already have approved? They said, we're not sure. I said, well, give it to me for Clinton Avenue and for Central Avenue and Washington Avenue, and I can stand with you and say that this is really working. And you know what? They did agree to that. And that's one of the good things that's happened here. Because it's more than just doing a street over, it's improving the quality, the attitude toward the neighborhood. And you can look at Delaware Avenue and see the small businesses, the people that are investing there, people that are saying, you know, this is the right thing to do. Look at Central Avenue, look at Washington, look at Old Town and Clinton. I'd love to have money to do every street in the city. We have 220 miles of them, and they're very old, and there's a big challenge. But as far as I'm concerned, what we've done is very substantial. We're going to continue to do that, and the governor and I will make a very good announcement over the next several days.
Thank you. Do you want me to repeat the question or not?
My timetable for making a city, bikeable city?
It says, what's your vision and timetable for making Albany a more pedestrian/bike-friendly city?
Immediately. Since I've been on the council, people have been continuously pushing for the city to become bikeable. And we have to. It has to be, we have to provide a city where people do not have to be forced to use their cars. We have a parking problem in this city. We do not structure our city in a way where we can make it walkable, bikeable, and more public transportation. We can't grow in this city. We're going to grow this city the way I envision it growing. We're going to need to do those things, and we're going to need to start to do them right now. We can no longer just say, we'll continue on the plan, we continue on the plan. We have to make sure we do it right now and make sure it happens. Because if we want people to move to this city, we have to make it friendly.
Thank you. We have a limited time tonight. We don't want to use it up that way. I'm sure you want to hear the candidates talk. Mr. Ellis, you'll have to respond to this question first. Is Albany becoming more divided economically and racially? And if so, how would you go about changing that problem?
Well, if you look at the stats, as far as being divided economically, yes. We do have a tale of two cities. South End and Arbor Hill, we have African-American population. 40% of the youth who live in those communities live below poverty level. And if we're going to move this city forward, the city has to be looked at as one city. We're going to eliminate the crime that is in the city. We're going to have to govern and live as one city. We're going to have to provide the leadership, the hope, and the vision for economic opportunities in all those neighborhoods. There's never been an economic impact study in Arbor Hill. How is that happening? How is that going to allow it to happen? When I first got in office, I met with my assemblyman, Candace Jerry, and I talked to him about Arbor Hill not having an economic impact study. Why in Arbor Hill? Because that's the ward I represent. But if we're going to change the city, we're going to move people forward out of poverty and into opportunities. We need to make sure we understand what those communities need and how to make sure they get those needs fulfilled. We haven't done that in this city, and it's long overdue. We need to do it now.
Thank you. Mr. Jennings, could you respond to that?
Yes, we put together an Arbor Hill Development Committee, and I think some of you out there served on that. And I applaud that, because what happened years ago when Alexander Cuomo was in Washington, he worked for HUD, we received $100 million to redo the North Albany projects, as they were referred to, into the quality housing under the housing thread we have now. That money then went to Swan Street, which was terrible. And if you look at it now, there has been substantial change over there. And I get a kick out of You know, we have to do, yes, we do. A lot of this takes money. You know, a lot of this takes us making sure that we're out in front to access the money, whether the federal dollars or state dollars or whatever. But the bottom line with our kids and people living in poverty is we've written too many of our kids off too young. They are not getting an education that they deserve. And as far as I'm concerned, that's part of what we should be doing. And I was fortunate enough today to start the day at Albany High School in the school district. 1,500 employees, new superintendent, and what we talked about was how do we work together? How do we make sure that what you're doing, we're in sync with? How do we make sure our schools are safe, people feel good about their kids going there, and our teachers get the support that they need? And I've been talking about this long before I became the mayor of this city, and I've been talking about it not just here, but across the country with other mayors. Urban education needs a new template. We're losing too many kids. We are losing too many kids. We know we need preschool for 3 and 4. We know we need after-school programs. We know what we've done and what we propose the school district will work. I'm encouraged with our recent meetings with the new superintendent of the schools. He gets it. He understands what we have to do. Let our teachers and administrators decide what we have to do for our children in the city. That's the way out of poverty. Give them an education. We'll create the jobs. We'll be the workforce. That's what we're working on, to create opportunities for these kids, and I'll continue to do that. So I appreciate it.
Thank you. Mr. Jennings, you are the first responder to the next question. What are your plans to address flooding in the city?
Well, I pray to the gods every night it doesn't rain. Basically, you know, we've had some real issues here. Not just here, but if you look at Rensselaer, you look at other communities, we've had some very, very strange weather. When you get 3 or 4 inches of rain in a half an hour, there's not a system anywhere that's going to handle that. And basically, we've been working with the Department of Water, our people at DGS. We've talked to the state. We have a consortium of communities together to really look at how do we replace the aged, the very old infrastructure we have in the city. How do we do things like create opportunities to make sure that water that overflows goes into catch basins or into holding areas, which is what we're doing in some of the areas of the city. We've put up substantial money through the water department to deal with this in certain areas of the city. But you know what? We really have to look at what's going on underneath underneath our city streets, and that's a big issue. And we have been doing that, and I give credit to everyone involved. But as I said, we've had a committee on the county level and on the regional level to look at this. We're talking hundreds and hundreds of millions. But for a 1-storm situation or a 2-storm situation, there are things that we can do in neighborhoods that are really impacted now, and that's what we're trying to do. Focus on those neighborhoods to make sure that we try and alleviate a lot of the problems that we're having. It's not inexpensive, and you know, for me to keep water affordable and everything else, we have to weigh how do we deal with this. Well, we really have to go after a lot of the monies that we're talking about on the state level and the federal level to deal with this. That's why we're working together as communities, Albany, Troy, Schenectady, Colony, all the rest of us. So,
Thank you. Mr. Ellis.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The flooding is a major issue, especially in those communities where we want to keep those property owners in their homes. I heard last Friday a woman said she continues to complain year after year after year. There seems to be no solution. They continue to hear it costs a lot of money to do it. But I like to say this. When you're an executive of a city, of a state, of a nation, you prioritize what's important and what needs to happen. When people continue to complain about flooding, which costs them money to get the water out of their basement, it costs their neighbors money, it costs their other neighbors money, people begin to say, I don't want to hear anymore, we're working on it, or we need to find the money. That's when you put your congressional leaders to work, your United States senators to work, because it's expensive. And the city cannot get that lift, carry that lift alone. As a leader of the city, it has to be a priority. It has to be a priority. But unfortunately, you know, we choose to ask for different things, like a convention center. We need to make sure the money and the things we ask for will benefit the citizens of this city right now. And when I say right now, we know it takes time. And we know, you know, it's not going to happen overnight. But we need to continue to ask for things that are going to benefit the citizens of this city and the property tax owners if we want to keep people in the city of Albany.
Okay, thank you. And Mr. Ellis, I'll let you respond to the next question first. I'll wait till you think. Because you end a question, then you have to begin. Give him a little break here. Okay, the next question says, what are your 3 top priorities, and how would you achieve them? Be specific, please.
Well, first priority is to have a government that is going to be transparent and accountable to the people. What do I mean by transparent? The budget to be more transparent. The budget to be given to council members early on so they can have a direct input and direct say in what happens in that budget. Transparent. When I talk about transparent, I talk about when we have contract bids, up for bids. They will go online. Yes, this is foilable. You can foil it, but we're going to put them online so you know who the city's doing business with, so awarding our contracts to. You won't have to go to the clerk's office and file a FOIL request for it. It will be online. Second, we talk about public safety. People won't stay in this city if they don't feel safe. Right now, they don't feel safe. So we will bring back community police in an effective way. Our officers will be trained how to be community police officers. I remember when I was a kid, they had community police in substations. We will bring that back to the city. How can we do that? We have people who own storefronts right now. I was at Park South neighborhood meeting probably a month ago. They talked about a gentleman who has a storefront who would love to have a satellite office in Park South. Clinton Avenue, in my district, there's a sign or an emblem of a police station of a storefront, but nothing happens. So we're going to bring that back to those communities so that people can feel safe in their communities. I told the chief when he first got on, I said, Chief, I don't care what the stats say. If people do not feel safe in their neighborhoods, we're not doing a good enough job.
Thank you. Mr. Jennings, would you respond?
Yeah, my number 1 priority has and will continue to be our children, our kids. And I've made that known right from the beginning. You know, we adults, sometimes we get hung up in too much of this he said, she said, this parochialism. And as far as I'm concerned, our children lose when we do that. And I will continue to work with people that want to make sure that our kids are successful in life. I don't care where they're from, where they live. It's important that they get equal access to all educational opportunities, employment opportunities. That's why I kept the summer's work employment program. When some members of my council wanted to vote it down, we don't want that. Forget about it. I have 1,500 kids working every summer, 20 hours a day. That's 30,000 hours a week. We're not worrying about those kids, and they're getting a good work experience. And you can talk about, you know, a lot of public safety has been and will continue to be my priority. Yes, I want to see the rate. If one crime is too much, one murder is too much, someone getting mugged is too much, as far as I'm concerned. But you know what? We are all eyes and ears for the city, and I ask people to participate and work with, you know, the dedicated resources we have in this police department. And that's why the crime rate has gone down. And I don't like statistics either, but yes, it has gone down. DCJS works with us. I started a truancy program in the city to get kids into school. I went to DCJS and said, why not fund this program as opposed to putting these kids in juvenile detention centers, ending up in jail? Let us get them into schools. But there's a message across the city that that's working because the attendance in our schools has increased, the kids and attitudes, and we're holding parents accountable. And yes, through this program we have charged a couple of parents, but you know what? That's too bad. In other words, we understand that these kids don't have to do that message about our kids. We kill education, and as far as it has been very successful. As far as our budget, the council gets it. They weigh in on it. They can weigh in on all they want. They can say to me, you know, this isn't good, this is good, Mayor. That's not a big deal. I don't have a problem with that. And I never have had a problem with that, and it's time out.
Okay, Mr. Jennings, we'll start with you for the next question, which is, what are your plans for the landfill in Pine Bush, and how to address the city's solid waste issue?
Let's put this into perspective. It's not just a city solid waste issue that we're dealing with. There's a regional plan that I was handed when I came in as mayor from the previous administration, known as Answers. In other words, we have to accommodate and work with the other communities here on solid waste. How do they get rid of their trash? I'm sick and tired of dealing with trash, to tell you the truth. And, you know, prior to me getting here, I voted against the city selling that landfill to a private sector person, group, because we would have lost it. Right now, what we do is we control our own destiny. And basically, DEC gave us that permit after several years of working together to make sure we do what's right. In other words, we have to now develop a better regional solid waste management plan. And the emphasis has to be on recycling. The emphasis has to be on not landfilling, but recycling. There are technologies now in the world that we have to look at. And as far as I'm concerned, we should in a few years have another master plan for what we're doing. Most importantly to this city, and I'll say this to you, is that we realize $12 to $13 million a year from that landfill for our budget. But people in the city do not have to pay to have their trash picked up. That's the last thing I want. And if we don't have a landfill, that's the direction we would be going in. And as far as I'm concerned, we've done the right thing. It's given us some time to really prepare a plan. Bill Bruce is overseeing a committee that will be very effective, has all the communities involved. And I'm looking at more than just Albany County and our answers to these. I'm looking at other areas of our counties around here that you can partner with us. We should control our own destiny when it comes to waste management with an understanding that recycling is the priority and we have to minimize the amount of landfilling we're doing or convert to something that will make it energy, whatever, it's done all over the world. So we have time to do that. And I have a lot of confidence in Bill Bruce and his understanding of that process.
Thank you. Mr. Ellis, do you want to respond, please?
What do I do with the landfill? First thing I would do with the landfill is manage it better. We have mismanaged this landfill. Our landfill is filled up faster than it was supposed to. Why? Because we've taken too much garbage. Why? Because we've taken too much garbage from municipalities, too many municipalities. In our landfill, 12% of the garbage that goes in comes from the city of Albany. The rest, haulers. It costs taxpayers millions of dollars to expand this landfill. You're paying for mismanagement of this landfill. When we look at it, we look towards regionalization, and this is a regional problem. But our landfill is going to be full, and it's going to be capped. And when we look at it as a region, I don't know if we really want to continue to have a landfill. We need to find a way to generate money and income into this city, rather than to depend on trash. We would not be here at this point dealing with our landfill, dealing with bonds to increase the amount of money for the landfill if we had managed it the correct way the first time. But because of mismanagement, the continuation of mismanagement is costing taxpayers. We can no longer afford that.
This is the next question, and Mr. Ellis, you will respond first, please. In my neighborhood, our #1 concern is public safety, housing, equal employment, and here everyone's talking about community policing. How will you make my neighborhood safer?
Well, I believe partnering up with the entities in that neighborhood associations, citizens in that neighborhood, to begin the process of creating an open dialogue on allowing people to have a say in how their neighborhoods are policed. I think I stated earlier, we will be moving towards community policing, effective community policing. And when it comes to unemployment in this city, there's a number of people in this city who feel they don't have an opportunity. They feel if they don't know the right person, they don't have the opportunity to move forward. We have to end that. It's not about who you know, it's about what you know, it's about being qualified to do the job. And we have to make sure that they have opportunities who live in this city. If we want people to stay in this city, if we want our youth to go away to college, to come back home, they have to seek opportunity. I left because I didn't see an opportunity in this city. And many of my friends have left because they didn't see economic opportunity coming back home. But I thank God that it wasn't about money for me. Thank God when I went away that I learned more about giving back. And that's why I came back home, to give back, to show those young men and women who grew up in those neighborhoods that I grew up in. You do have a chance. You do have opportunity. And we want to create that for you right here where you were born and raised. And we need to continue that, and we can do that together. And we hear elected officials all the time talk about we want to work together. We want to work together. But a lot of people in this city continue to feel like the doors have been shut out, shut in their face. And under my administration, that is going to be the key. You are the most valuable resource we have in this city. The most valuable resource. And we're going to make sure that we put you all to work.
Please be quiet out there so we can hear.
I would love to have the money or the opportunity to employ everyone that I've met in my 14 to 15 plus years as the mayor. I've employed a lot of young people in this city that went to Albany High School when I was there. You know what? They're good, productive members of this community. When I came in, I said, we have to create jobs. Corey's not wrong. And that's why I pushed for nanotech. That's why I pushed for our colleges and universities to partner with us, to make sure that our children have an opportunity. But it brings us back to the basic premise. A lot of our kids don't graduate from college. They don't graduate from high school. And it's our responsibility to make that a priority. If we get our kids to be successful when they're 15, 16, 17, and 18, we won't need 1,000 cops on our streets. We won't need our kids that are failing to be dealt with through police and law enforcement. That's community policing. And that's a priority, and it has been a priority for me. And as far as I'm concerned, we have a police department. Yes, I didn't fill some positions last year, and we have to be realistic. We complain about taxes, we complain about this. I have to be very, very wise when it comes to a budget. I have to make sure and prioritize what I have to do. I have confidence. We have cops, police that are out there on those streets that you don't know about. We know we have technology now we never had. We can spot what's going on anywhere in the city, and it's only going to improve. Right outside this library the other day, we announced wireless free access to the internet for several areas of the city of Albany. We got a grant from the governor, over $600,000, to make sure Arbor Hill, the South End, this area around here, Center Square, everyone has access. I have a request into our federal representative for $5 million to make this city wireless, to close the digital divide, so all of our kids have access, all of our families have access, and they're going to learn from it. And that's critical as far as I'm concerned. We're going to move this city forward. Let's take advantage of the opportunities. Let's make sure we do the right thing for everyone involved. Let's keep our focus on our children, because you know what? I've said it before, we're losing too many of them.
Thank you. And Mr. Jennings, could you answer my question first? What is the current status of the new convention center, and what are your views on the future of it?
Some people think that's laughable. I don't. We've been working on it for about 7 years.
Excuse me. Everyone's been so respectful tonight. Let's not lose the thread of that. Let's give Mr. Jennings an opportunity to respond. Thank you.
When I put that convention center group together, the professionals said, you know what, that would be an awesome thing for the city of Albany, the capital of the state of New York. The state can't accommodate it. I talked about it. We have an area down there, and if you know where the bus station is, and where some of those parking lots are, or whatever, that's a waste of valuable land here in the city. And I said, okay, a convention center is nice. We also need housing. We also need retail. We also need more office space in that whole site down there. Yes, an authority was created when the economy was good. I'm realistic enough to feel, you know, we're not going to be getting all the money that we asked for. And basically, I had a discussion with, let's see, it was Governor Spitzer at the time, about how do we make this happen. And he said, I can't come up with $400 million. I said, I understand that, Elliot. That's not a problem. But let's talk about if we privatize a lot of this and recreate and get other investment, can we make this happen? He said, come back with a plan. Okay, then I had to go back to another governor. And the economy went like this. Okay? So I'm a realist, but the authority, what they're doing right now, is they're buying land down there so they can reclamate it, so that they can do the archaeological, they can get it ready for development. If it's a convention center, good. If it's not a convention center, we can still develop it. And that's what's critical about it. Because we create jobs. If it's a convention center or a hotel, there are numerous jobs, not just construction jobs, but jobs that we need in the city of Albany. But my feeling is that it has to be a mix of a lot of different things down there. As I said, residential, we need new commercial office space, but it's a very, very valuable piece of property that I'd rather have one entity control than 15 different entities, because it makes it that much more easier to develop. And that's where we're going with this. And what will happen is we'll evolve in the next several months or several years.
Mr. Ellis, do you respond?
Absolutely. The authority buying up the land, making it one property is a great idea. It's a really great idea. The mayor talks about education. So I want to talk about, he said we need housing, retail, and office space down that area. a junior college campus can satisfy all three of those requirements. We talk about education a lot. Now it's time to invest in education. It's time to invest in the downtown annex campus in the city of Albany. How can we do this? Our president continues to push and will push a lot of municipalities and areas about community colleges, either developing community colleges, new community colleges, or adding on annex campuses. We need to look into that. We need to be on the forefront of that. That's what we should be using that space for. Once again, when we ask for money from the state, the money should benefit the city of Albany. It should benefit the citizens who live in the city of Albany. Convention Center does not do that. And I haven't heard too many residents out on the door say they like a convention center. But they do like the idea of having an educational center such as a community college in downtown Albany, which will provide housing, retail, and office space, and economic opportunities for the men and women who live in those surrounding areas. That's how you build a lively 24-hour downtown. It's a downtown college campus, and that's my point. Thank you.
Okay, the next question will be from Mr. Ellis. Mr. Ellis, for you this time first. The coming census will be critical to Albany's future. How will you encourage citizens, especially historically underrepresented minorities, to participate?
A number of the community have been encouraged. Council members have been to really count. It's probably one of the most important things as far as you vote, which is I feel the number one. But we need everyone counted. It's vitally that everyone understands why they. The more we have, the more money that we can generate. So I think that, we all know the importance of it. I've heard the mayor talk about it consistently. My common council members, I know they're reaching out to their communities to talk about it. I'm doing it as well. So let's make sure to tell everyone we know it's important that you're counted in the next up.
There's no doubt this is so important because it's a reflection of the aid we get from Washington for a myriad of programs, even roads, even new construction, even jobs. And what we've done is, under Denise Kelly's leadership and Annette Delable, who works for the Census Bureau, is we've put together a team, and I've had meetings with that group to make sure that we get them. Now this is 2010. The census questionnaire is only 10 questions. 10 for 10 is going to be our slogan. And we have to make sure that everyone responds to that. It is very, very critical that we make sure that we do the necessary outreach. We've had people employed from this city with the Census Bureau to make sure that they're out there, they're going to be doing follow-up, they're going to make sure. There has to be a consistent message from all of us how important it is. That information is confidential. It's something that is not going anywhere else but to the federal government, and we have to make sure that we don't miss the thousands of people we've probably missed in the past. Because I can look at some of the new development here in the city and see families and people that have moved in here, God bless you, into this city. And it's very, very important, and Corey's absolutely right, the message has to be consistent from all of us, that fill this form out. You have to be part of the process. In our outreach program, we had the Secretary of State with us the other day because there are state dollars. The governor has said, you know what, we want to make sure that everyone understands the importance of this census. So he had his people come and talk to that whole team that I put together. And Marcus Pryor is chairing that census committee for us here in the city, and I thank him. I think he's out there in the crowd. Because it's a non-paying job, but it's getting everyone together and make sure we do the right thing. So all of us are involved in this. We should make sure that we are consistent in our message, that everyone participates. I appreciate your help on that too.
The next question, Mr. Jennings, will begin with you. How do you explain the continual failure in our high school and what you plan to do about it?
You know, I hate to say continual failure because we have a lot of dedicated people that work with our kids. And unfortunately, if it's negative, it leads in the news. We have so many good kids at that high school. We have so many good programs at that high school. We have kids that do very, very well. Do we need changes? You bet your life we do. Yes, you know what we need to do? We need to go back to the day when if a child doesn't fit in school, we give him or her an alternative ed system or situation where they're in school for 8 hours a day, not 2. Not on home tutor, not on the streets of the city of Albany. We don't write them off when there's 15, 16, 17 years of age, but we give them an opportunity to do the right thing. You know, I spent quite a few years, 1974, about 20 years at that high school. And it wasn't a day that I regret being there. Kids still call me. They said, Mr. Jennings, my hall monitor. I was the vice principal. I was in the halls looking for kids that shouldn't have been in the halls. And that's what they assumed I was their hall monitor. And they came to my office, and they would sit down, and I said, look, we can resolve this problem if you want to resolve the problem. And not one kid ever walked out of my office, because you take an interest in these children, they're going to say, you know what, he's right, she's right. That's a microcosm of this city. And I said that to the teachers and administrators today. You have to continue to work with us, because from 8 to 3, those kids are your responsibility. From 3 on, they're ours. It doesn't make any sense for us not to work together. It doesn't make any sense for us to close our schools at 3 o'clock. Keep them open until 7, 8 o'clock at night. That's when most of juvenile crime, teenage pregnancy takes place. And as far as I'm concerned, we're in a good situation with the school district. We're going to announce a lot of programs with the opening of the school year because of money for transportation. Our teachers really need to be given a break when it comes to saying, okay, you got to teach to test. I'm sorry. Let the teachers decide what our kids need. Let them decide the curriculum in urban America, because we're losing too many kids with the present structure. We haven't changed it in 50 years. So we have a responsibility to do that, and our kids deserve us having one consistent message about it. Sorry.
Mr. Ellis, thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to continue the work that I've done since I've been back in Albany. And that is continue to push and talk to our youth about the importance of education, continue to be that role model for them, and to ask of them greater responsibility. I do it every day, and I challenge the communities to do it. When I was younger, it was, times you were supposed to be in school, and someone saw you on the street, someone would ask you, why aren't you in school? You couldn't walk 4 blocks before someone would say, why aren't you in school? We need to get back to that. Why? Because it shows our youth that the most important thing they should be doing in their life is getting educated. That's the most important thing they should be doing. And the community plays a vital role in it. The community plays a vital role in making sure that the school board is moving in the direction that the people in those communities want them to move in. The mayor of Albany has no direct authority over the school district. But we need to partner up with the school district and champion that our schools are growing, our schools are being productive, and we need to celebrate those who come out of those schools and recognize them so that the kids coming behind them will feel a sense of hope and that they can do it as well. So when we look at our school system, yes, we need a thriving school system to have a thriving city. But we also need to make sure that those neighborhoods those children live in are safe, productive, and growing. They need not see 5 abandoned vacant buildings every time they walk down the block. As the mayor said, it is our job after 3 o'clock to take care of. So we need to make sure that there's less guns on the street, less abandoned vacant buildings, and that they feel a sense of my community is growing, not my community is dying. And in my administration, we're going to send that message loud and clear. It's tough to send that message right now, but after 16 years, those neighborhoods, most of them don't feel like they've been growing. Oh, my time is up.
Thank you. Okay, but I'll give you an opportunity to talk again because you're the first responder to the next question. Do you think there's adequate nighttime parking in downtown neighborhoods? If not, how would you begin providing more? Wait a minute, excuse me. Can everybody get the question? Yeah. Okay, I'll just repeat it, seeing somebody didn't. Okay. Do you think there's adequate nighttime parking in downtown neighborhoods? If not, how would you begin providing more? And do you support permit parking? Mr. Ellis, would you start?
No, there's not adequate parking in downtown neighborhoods, and we need to really look at how do we use all our open lots and open parking spaces that we do have in this city and take advantage of that. The question about permit parking, I've been on the council 3 years now, 4 years, excuse me, and every year we vote on this issue. And we send it up to the state legislature, and I voted continuously for permit parking. The one thing I believe we need to do is, I continue to say it, after all these years, you mean to tell me we cannot sit down in a room with every stakeholder who might be for or against permit parking and begin the process of having a real dialogue on how do we solve this problem. And then we need to continue CDTA, I'll back up, CDTA right now is eliminating bus routes. How in the world are we going to create a city where people do not need to use their cars if our public transportation system seems to be going backwards? We're supposed to be moving forward, creating more public transportation so that people will not have the need to use their cars. Because when we want people, when they move to this city, to be able to say, I don't need my car. I can bike, I can walk, and I can take public transportation. And for some reason, we have not been able to move on this issue. I don't know the reason. But I know I'm not going to attack it the same way we've been attacking it. I'm not going to have the council vote and send up a resolution which we know won't go anywhere. We're going to sit down with the people who have stake in this and talk about how do we figure this thing out. And we can do it. It's all about the will to do it. And that's where we're at. It's about the will. It's long overdue. It needs to happen. We can't allow any more excuses from our elected, state elected officials. This needs to get done. It needs to get done as soon as possible because I think the mayor's been advocating for 16 years as well. Maybe we're doing it the wrong way. Maybe we need to take a different approach.
Thank you. Mr. Jennings, could you respond to that? Go ahead. Thank
The
you.
real issue here is, you know, when I was on the council, there was a permit parking that was implemented that was very, very poorly implemented, and we lost it in court. When I came in 1994, I got the unions into the conference room. I said, look, let's work on this. Okay, I'm sick and tired of people coming down here waiting to get off of State Street or somewhere else and parking their car. We need more inventory. First building I get down here, ENCON, Environmental Conservation. The union guys wanted to meet with me. They came in and said, we want a parking spot for Wolf Road for every worker we have. I said, aren't you guys from ENCON? Environmentally friendly? You don't want to carpool things? You want to take buses? No, they were adamant about it with the state of New York. And that's how that garage ended behind ENCON and the pavement under 787, which is okay because we can use it for some of our activities. The Madison Avenue garage, fine. Okay? The Sheridan Avenue garage, the state and the unions negotiated that up here. I've been trying to say to the unions, okay, now Corey has PEP's endorsement, I have CSEA endorsement. Yes, I've had issues with it, okay, with parking. And I said to them, let's get together on this thing. The Harriman campus, you have 17 surface lots across the street that was parking. People wouldn't pay $25 to take the bus down. There's a suburban mindset about we should be able to drive in, go to work, and then take off. That's what has to change. CDTA is looking at fast bus routes. Some of the things that we're talking about, that we're looking at the terminal down here in right where the convention center area is. And as far as I'm concerned, there are strides that we've made. We probably added 8,000 to 9,000 parking spots to the inventory. But that doesn't make, if you live on State Street or Sheridan Hollow or over on Madison Avenue, we have to do a better job. And the unions have to come to the table. And the state doesn't have, the guys and the gals in the legislature have to say, no, this is good. Let us manage our own streets, is what I've said to them. Do a carte blanche bill for the state of New York. And parking will be allocated, will be decided by the legislative branches of government in all municipalities. Okay.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Okay, Anna, we have another question here, and Mr. Jennings, could you start, please? We have many immigrants being settled in Albany. Their main problem is learning English. How can we provide more help for the adults so they can become productive residents?
You know, that's a true fact too. More immigrants are coming here. And when I was at Albany High School, we had English as a second language. We have to incorporate that into our schools for our kids, number one. The adults that come in here through the Adult Learning Center, through different programs that are being offered, it's critical that we do that. And we want to make sure that everyone feels welcome to the city. They're part of the city. And we have to work together. And that's discussions we've had, not only with the city school district, but with the colleges and universities. They also have to be part of it. So it's something that we really have to focus on, continue to focus on, and make sure that people that come, regardless of where they're from, will adjust, be successful, and find jobs, will be treated fairly just like everyone else that comes into the city.
Thank you. Mr. Ellis, could you respond?
We definitely have to adjust to the diversity that we live in. Diversity continues to grow in this city. That's a must. And we have to use our high schools, our educational centers to do that, to provide those opportunities for men and women, and children who are coming needs to have English as a second language.
Thank you. The next question, Mr. Ellis, you can begin the response. This person asks, what can be done to bring business and kids together in West Hill?
What can be done? Well, we seem to have a number of businesses, one, we need more businesses in West Hill if we want to bring them together, and that goes back to an economic impact study. But what I would like to see, we continue to build up downtown Albany, and that is that is right on the border of Arbor Hill and West Hill. But the people who seem to work there do not look like those residents who live in those communities. So we need to start having a conversation with those businesses and providing opportunities for the people who live right in those neighborhoods. We cannot have that open dialogue about hiring the young men and women who live in those neighborhoods and giving them that economic opportunity and chance to develop in their own neighborhood. We're failing, and we're failing dearly. And so that's what I would do as mayor. Begin to open up the dialogue and say, you have a business here, you're right on the border of a community that needs you desperately. We'd like to see you provide some opportunities for those individuals who live in that community. That's what I do.
Thank you. Mr. Jennings, could you respond?
Yes, and I've had a lot of discussion with the business community over the years, and yes, there has been a lot of investment in the city. It's not just in downtown. On Clinton Avenue, SEPQ was in. There hadn't been a financial institution, Arbor Hill, in years and years. You know what? And it really is. I get a lot of people saying, that's great, Mayor. And I tell them, why don't we hire people from the community to make sure that they're part of what's going on? What we have to do is we have to change the attitude about people investing in this city and make it affordable for them to invest. And that's what my economic development office has been doing relative to incentives, making businesses come in here, talking about training programs for our kids to make sure that they do have an opportunity to fill the jobs that we're creating. I want people from this city working in any of the businesses that come in. That's been the mantra since we've talked about whatever investment's going on. And as far as I'm concerned, West Hill, Arbor Hill, the South End, we need to make sure that if there are opportunities, they stay in there. That's why I was adamant. If something were going to go on to the convention center site, or that convention center, those jobs went to City of Albany residents, no one else. And that's something we have to hold very close to our hearts and make sure it happens as we do development in this city. And that's what we're going to continue to do.
Okay, and you can start with the next question. Mr. Jennings, where are the youth centers for the inner city?
I'll tell you, there are youth centers, and if you look at it, there was a study done, I think the council had it done, as a matter of fact, that really identified where the youth centers were, where kids could go. It's great to build youth centers, but the kids that we want in those centers are not going. Okay, the kids have made a decision, they don't want to be part of it, and those are the kids that I worry about. Those are the kids that we have to go out. And I said to myself, if the school district is spending a couple $100 million on our schools, they shouldn't be closed in July and August. They shouldn't close at 4 o'clock. They should be open for us. The taxpayers are paying for them. Those are our properties that are first class. The kids feel comfortable if they go to a school. I've offered for years to put my after-school programs or after 3 o'clock programs into our schools. I've been turned down by the district. Now there's a different climate going on because I think people are saying, you know what? We're not graduating a lot of our kids. We're losing too many of our kids. Let's do the right thing. So let us use these opportunities, take an opportunity, keep our schools open, keep the elementary schools open, use the middle schools. In the summertime, if they have pools, open them up for everyone to use. Yes, that's what's critical. And you can take a look at the Arbor Hill Community Center. And Pastor Muller is sitting right here. Here's a guy that is on the street all the time that has done an excellent job prioritizing what's good for our kids, telling them that we care about them, telling them that we want them to be successful, and moving into our buildings and creating programs and opportunities for them. That's the kind of individuals, those are the kind of individuals I need to partner with us, because you know what? We just say, okay, you're on your own, kids, too early in life. We have to change that. And that's critical that we all continue to work together to do it. Parks and Recreation, all over. We have a lot of opportunities going on. St. Rose is building a $5 million complex on Upton Avenue.
$5 million on Huffman Avenue, with the understanding that our kids will be part and we'll be able to use that facility, and we're going to have learning centers built right into it with the St. Rose kids working with our kids from this community. And that's what we have to do. And they took a big step in working with us on it, and they're going to continue to make sure it's successful. So I'm very excited about that partnership with Time Out with St. Rose.
Okay. And Mr. Ellis, the reason I'm holding you off from clapping is I am a little remiss. I should have told you at the beginning we're aiming to have this for 90 minutes. I'm looking around at the clock. I'd like to get as many questions in as possible. So that's why I'm asking you to not interrupt and let the candidates speak fully for the time. Mr. Ellis, could you respond to the question?
Sure, it sounded like it was directed at the mayor.
You don't have to answer.
Where are the
You're not
community
required.
Where are the community centers? What we found out as a council when we did the study, that the most needed places for those community centers were not in West Hill, and were not in Arbor Hill. The mayor just talked about the St. Rose complex. I don't know if any of the kids in Arbor Hill is going to be tracking across the city to go to St. Rose and play in that complex. We want our kids to feel like their community matters. We need to invest in those communities in a way we've never invested before. We need to invest in those communities where some people say everyone wants a community center on our block. We know that. But the Arbor Hill Community Center, as I've seen for myself, is not accessible for the kids in West Hill. West Hill has the highest crime rate in this city. There needs to be an open house of a community center in West Hill. And the mayor is correct when he says the kids at the age we're trying to reach them are the ones that aren't going. But guess what? We're going to start something new here. We're going to start something new where we're going to begin the process of letting our kids know our community center in your neighborhood is where we want you to be. And they will go there. But we have to have it first. Those kids, when they're young and they're growing up, if they don't have a community center in their neighborhood, how would they know to go? It says, teach a child in the way they should go. So if we build a community center in West Hill, where they're lacking, and not have them have to walk all the way across the city to the YMCA or St. Rose, we need to build it where they are. And they're in West Hill. And that's what we need to start. Because if we build it, they definitely will come.
Thank you. And following up on this, Mr. Ellis, you have to go first, so maybe you can just change the question a little since you haven't been the mayor of this city. Maybe I can say, what can be done about the rise in the ranks of gangs and hoodlums? And for Mr. Jennings, when he answers it, he can answer it in relationship to his stuff. Okay, thank you.
Well, what can be done is, for many years, our mayor has ignored that we had a gang issue in the city. And now we realize we have a gang issue in the city. But what we have to do is what myself and many people in the community began to advocate for, and we're going to get a program like SNUG that is going to help begin the process of putting community people on the street, community people who've been in those bad situations, to begin the process of pulling those kids out of those gangs. We can do it, people. But what we have to do is empower the people who live in those neighborhoods to do it. The city, any government, should not be the ones who dictate what goes on. If we're going to save them, we have to, from the mayor's office on down, I have to be able to look at a man or a woman and say, go do your job. We're trying to create leaders in this community. We're trying to empower people in this community. Go do your job. And that's what we need to happen if we're going to really attack this gang problem. Also, we need to build a process where we begin to take away the guns off these streets. The guns have continued to litter our streets. Charlie Muller, Albany County, they got a gun back buy program. I don't know if our city participates in that financially. But if we don't, we need to. Because that shows our commitment to eliminating the number of guns on the street. That shows our commitment to ending the gun violence that continues to plague the young men and women in our neighborhoods. A commitment financially. We have to do it.
Yes.
I
Mr.
have to
Chairman.
correct Corey. You know, I knew there were gangs in the city when I was the vice principal at Albany High School because I happened to bring in a couple of the gang leaders and talk to them years ago and say, there's a better way. I hired Cook Barrett, who's been here for over 8 years, and we have a gang prevention program that's acknowledged and recognized across the state as one of the best going in the city. He's a street guy. He knows these kids. He talks to these kids. He makes sure that they understand that they can be successful. You know, and it's working with the Y and other agencies that we've been doing that. I know we have kids involved in gangs, but we don't have, you know, they form very quickly here. A little pocket here, a little pocket there. That's why it's critical that we work with the school district to identify the kids that aren't being successful, because that's where they're going. If they don't get an education, they're going somewhere else where they're going to feel good, and if they don't have any hope that they're going to be successful, they're going to gang it up. They're going to. As far as illegal guns, I've been threatened by the NRA. You know, I've been partners with Mayor Bloomberg and Mayor Menino from Boston on the Mayors Against Illegal Guns for years. And you know what? When we go to Washington, all of a sudden they get uptight. You know, as far as I'm concerned, we should be tracking guns, handguns in this country. This should be a central repository. And if you have a handgun, if you have a permit, your name is in there. If you move, it goes with you. If something happened to you where, you know, that terrible situation in Binghamton, where he had psychological issues, that should pop up. Someone should go and make sure that that person is taken care of as far as having access to guns. You know, there are a lot of things that we can do. And in this country, you know, our legislators in Washington are going to have a big say in how do we attack the illegal guns in this country. 40% of the illegal guns, I think it's 50% of the illegal guns in this country are sold by 1% of the gun dealers, okay, which is all over the place. I talked to Mayor Daley of Chicago, who sued gun dealers, okay? That's what we have to do. We don't need guns on our streets, but we got to get a mindset into our kids that they shouldn't be gumming it. They shouldn't be ganging it up. They shouldn't be doing what they're doing. And that's going to take all of us to send that message. And working together, the salvation will be a timeout. All of us working together.
The next question, starting with you, Mr. Jennings, is, as a retiree, I have made a commitment to age out and stay in my house in downtown Albany. The fact that my property taxes have doubled in the last 5 years may make that impossible. Will we be able to look forward to relief?
You know, I'm not sure, probably through reassessment and that type of thing, property taxes did double. And as I've said, the spending is something that we have tried to control. You know, in our budget, and Corey's voted, has looked at this budget and other council members, I tried to minimize the impact on the property taxpayers in the city every year. But I don't want to compromise the delivery of services. I tried to keep it at 3-4%, lower than that. As I said, 61-62% of the property taxes you pay goes to the school district. And as far as I'm concerned, there's a lot of money now available to school districts that should help alleviate that load on the property taxpayers in our city. But we don't want to compromise the programs, but that's a state of New York issue that we're dealing with here. It's all over the state. We have to come up with programs to make sure that our seniors are not forced out of their homes. We have to make sure that the money that is available from the federal government and the state government helps alleviate the real strain on people on fixed incomes, and I can see that. You know, if you retire and you have a fixed income, you know, you're not going to be able to handle all this. I understand that. We have to work on that together, and really there has to be a program statewide that has to be established to make sure that we don't force people out of their homes or out of their communities. And that's what we can do. I work with Neil, Jack McEnany, we talk about this, and it's something we're going to continue to talk about.
Thank you. Mr. Ellis, could you respond?
Yes. Property taxes continue to rise, and as a city, we need to make sure we empower the council members to really be able to have a direct push in this city budget. A direct push. Because if we're going to slow down the process of property taxes continue to go up, as a city, we need to look at this budget openly and honestly. And look at it in a way we've never looked at it before. The mayor's been looking at it for 16 years. Maybe we need 2 new pair of eyes to look at it. And we need to look at it in a way where we begin to cut costs, starting with the top. We can't ask the taxpayers in this city, the people in this city to sacrifice unless the executive branch of government begins the process of sacrifice. Because that's what it's going to take, people. Sacrifice. The mayor says we don't want to cut services. We want to continue this. We're going to have to make some tough choices, and sacrifices are going to have to be made. But if we make it together, if that process during the budget system is open and early, we can make those tough choices. And those tough choices will start in my administration with me. My administration, as mayor, I will be taking a 20% pay cut. 1. 2, if I elected, you will elect me at that salary. And for 4 years, that will be my salary as mayor. That's the pledge I make. If we need to make hard choices, that is the pledge I pledge to the citizens of Albany. That's where I'll start. Because we need to send a message. We cannot continue to spend the way we spend in this city. If we're going to want people's property taxes and to keep them in the city of Albany, there needs to be sacrifices, and those sacrifices need to be open. And we need the council members to empower them to be able to send out a message to their constituents what is going on in the budget process, where they feel if they can make changes, it will not just be, we're not doing that, we're doing it a different way. And that's what I'm talking about empowering our councilors. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question, starting with you, Mr. Ellis, is how do young African-American males get jobs? How can we ensure that the contractors for the city have a diverse workforce?
That's a great question. One thing I've continued to fight for,
Please let him answer.
diversity when it comes to contracts and contract bids, and that's why my administration, those contracts will be put online. Will be put online. Because we need to know who's getting them and why minorities aren't getting them. What is the reason? And we need to track that. We have to track it. When I met with the fire chief about 2 years ago about minorities not being hired in the fire department, I was disappointed when I asked him, can you tell me the number of minorities that have come, one, taking the test, they've taken the test, the interviewing process, the number of them who didn't pass the physical process. Because if you can't track where the problem is, how are you going to solve it? If you can't track why aren't minorities getting contracts, how are you going to solve it? And that's what I'm talking about in open government. And that's how people will know. And then we will make adjustments. If it's lack of experience, we will partner up with people to make sure they get that experience. Because we have a lot of work to be done in this city. And it needs to be done by the people who live in this city, people. We cannot continue to farm out contracts to people who don't live in this city. And people will then want to come and live in the city of Albany. Why? It's like they're doing business with people who live there. That's where I'm going to move. And we have to be diligent. I mean, it's my first year on the council, that's all I heard. That's all I heard. Can't get a contract. Can't. And I work with Mike Barber, and he's in the back someplace. He's doing a great job, doing a really great job, in trying to educate and get the word out there. But we need people to understand what the pitfalls are, and we need to push it and make it a priority, and not just say we're just trying to do it. It needs to be a priority. Thank you.
Mr. Jennings, could you respond?
Yeah. First of all, I never had a common council member come to me and say, I don't need something, okay, to set the record straight. You know, it's always, why do we get this done, Mayor? How do we get that done? You know, when I came in, I had 25 department heads. I spent 2 days interviewing. We're down to 8 department heads. I don't want to hear I haven't consolidated. I've cut jobs. I've done the responsible thing to minimize the amount. But you know, everyone says create jobs, create jobs. Where's the money? We lose a landfill, we lose $13 million a year. It's a 39% property tax increase. It's a loss of 150 or 170 jobs to people that live in this city. Because when we hire in DGS and other agencies, I want to make sure they go to the people that live in this city. So there's a lot of rhetoric being thrown around that people don't understand the bigger picture here. Yes, when we have opportunities here, Faye Andrews and our Youth and Workforce Development team do an excellent job. Mike Barber does an excellent job overseeing what's going on, working with contractors, working with the unions.
I meet with the unions about apprentice training programs. When I was at Albany High School, we had the Vocational Tech Center, and I had a good relationship with unions where we could transition these kids into the unions. I'm not so sure that's happening anymore, but that's going to happen. And as far as I'm concerned, our responsibility is to make sure that, and it has been mine all along, people from the city do go to work here. And that's what I've been doing when I interview people, when I talk to people, when my agencies hire people. We're not going outside. Yes, I'd love to create 1,000 jobs, but financially, you complain, and it wouldn't be fair to you. Because I want jobs that are only necessary, and yes, we're doing everything we can as far as minority recruitment. We started a program with the fire department at Albany High School this year, training our kids as paramedics. It was one of the best programs in the state of New York, and the kids loved it. They saw what was going on. We have a summer youth employment program. Our kids work right in the fire department. They work in the police department. I want to encourage minority participation. That's what we have to do, and that's what we're continuing to do.
Thank you. I'm rushing because I'm looking at the clock. I want you as an audience to have the maximum amount of time with your candidates. The next question, starting with you, Mr. Jennings, is what are your thoughts on alcohol being served at Alive at 5, Lark Fest, and the Tulip Festival?
You know what? There's been a lot said about that, and you know, one thing we have is a city where arts are very important. The arts and entertainment. We want people to stay here. We want people to come in here and spend money. We want people to do the right thing. But there's also a responsibility that goes with that. And partnering with the district attorney's office, you know, with Lenny Crouch, with the sheriff's department, we put together a program. Our people are very well trained, probably better trained than a lot of people that work in the bars and areas, you know, in different areas of the city. It's about responsibility. You know, having the Tulip Fest, one of the highlights of the year in the city, hundreds of thousands of people have come to that. You know, our Alive at 5s, free entertainment, you know, there weren't any problems this year because I talk about it when I get on that stage, or we talk about it, about responsibility. And that's what we have to continue to instill in our kids. I do it when I meet at SUNY Albany. We had a meeting of college presidents and universities throughout the state to talk about responsibility for our kids that are 21. You know, our kids can go and work in a bar and serve alcohol at 18, but they can't drink. What are we doing with these kids? We're forcing them to drink at homes and then come out, and then they end up getting into trouble. There has to be a whole educational process, and all of us have to deliver that message. It's about responsibility. Our people are well trained at all of those events. I have a lot of confidence in Sue Cleary and her staff. They've done an excellent job of working with the district attorney and with the Albany County Sheriff's Stop DWI, with the cab companies, and we're going to continue to do it. Because we can't say we're not having entertainment here. I'm sorry, we are going to have entertainment here.
Mr. Ellis, could you respond to that, please?
Sure.
Thank you.
I have no problem with the entertainment. I think the consumption of alcohol is too great. I haven't been around long, but I've talked to a few people about Alive at 5 and the consumption of alcohol. And the citizens seem to feel that it worked better when we didn't have beer distributors really pushing Alive at 5. People have told me around the city that they loved Alive at 5 when you could only bring a container to Alive at 5 with a certain amount of beer or a cooler to Alive at 5. They said they liked it better. It was more family friendly. And that wasn't a lot of consumption of alcohol there. We want to entertain, absolutely. But most importantly, we want to create a city where people want to live and not just want to have a good time. And that's my focus as Mayor of Albany.
Okay. We're coming to the end of the question part. We have one or two more. If I've neglected your area of interest or your particular question, let me assure you that both candidates have said that after their closing statements, they will be staying on, and you can ask them directly. But we're not done yet. Okay, I think now it's Mr. Ellis. Does Albany have a potential to be a tourist destination?
Absolutely. We have some of the finest infrastructure buildings in the city of Albany. We have some of the finest architects in this city. We have a long history here, so absolutely it has the ability to be a tourist attraction. And we need to do more to make it more of a tourist attraction, like revitalizing our neighborhoods. Like I said, tourism is great, but we need to create a city where people want to live.
Mr. Jennings, could you respond?
Yes, tourism and working with Michelle Bernard, the Visitors Convention Bureau, has been great. Having the Times Union Center is a very, very beneficial thing to all of us. And it gives this city exposure. And I've had so many people come in from all over to look at this city and say, you know, this is a beautiful city. It really is. And we look at investors continually to come in here and say, you know what, I'd like to invest in your city. And we've been fortunate when we have people come in, and there are people looking at different areas of the city that you don't even know about through our economic development program that said, you know what, we want to invest here. The problem is, it's so expensive to take our older buildings and rehab them. And Susan Holland is
I'd
here.
ask you to, excuse me, I'd ask you, we only have a few more minutes. It's
That
been
is-
a great night. Could everyone just hold off a
That
few
we
more minutes?
continue to encourage people to come in. The governor signing the credit for historic buildings is a real godsend for us, for this city, because it really gives an incentive for people to invest in our older buildings, to rehab those buildings, and say, we want to make it affordable. And that's what this is all about. We have a beautiful city. Yes, it's an old city, but there's a lot for us to be proud of, and as far as I'm concerned, we're going in the right direction, and we're going to continue to go in the right direction.
Thank you. And the last question before each candidate has a closing remarks. I'll start with you, Mr. Jennings. What is your plan to keep Albany residents from leaving to the suburbs?
Well, you know what? Simple, bottom line, a lot of families move out of here because they don't have confidence in what's going on in our public educational system. And you can see that, you can hear that, and shame on us for not making sure that we get the good message out about the good things going on in our schools. I said this at Albany High School today. I said, you do an excellent job, teachers. We have to stress the positive. We have to work together. The administrators, the teachers, the city, and as I said, make sure our teachers are comfortable teaching, our kids are in a safe learning environment, and the kids that need special attention, we give them special attention. And because that's because a lot of people are saying, why should I pay this kind of money in taxes and have to pay to have my kid go to a private school? We have to change that. We have to make sure that our families are happy what's going on, because their kids are the most important commodity, the most important thing in their lives. And as far as I'm concerned, that's something we're going to continue to work on. And continuing to partner with the schools, we will do that.
Okay. And Mr. Ellis, could you respond to this final question, please?
Sure. How do we,
It was, what is your plan to keep Albany residents from leaving for the suburbs?
well, the way we do that is we begin to reinvest in the neighborhoods in a strong way, continue to stress public safety, and put in a strong public safety plan, and also give people confidence in their government, that their government is working for them. And I don't think people have enough confidence that their government is working for them, for the best interests of their community. When we look at how we govern, and when people look at our city, they want to see that things can change. They want to see progress. And so I believe the first step in having people want to come back to the city of Albany is to elect me as the next mayor. People will then see that change did come to Albany, and anything is possible.
Well, I thank you all. Don't go, because now we have our final closing statements, and by lot, Mr. Ellis has the first opportunity.
Thank you again for giving me the opportunity to speak tonight. Thank you for all the questions that were submitted. I hope a number of them were answered. But our mayor is running for a 5th term. When he made his announcement, he said we had some problems. We have to admit we had some problems. Well, we might have people in this room right now who would have said, we've had a lot of problems for a long time. If you want change, if you want solutions, if you want Albany to move in a different direction, you have a choice. And that choice is to elect me as the next mayor of Albany. I'm prepared to deliver, and I'm prepared to lead this city in a new, progressive, formal way where we invite everyone into the process of government. I'm no stranger to hard work. I understand the issues, and I know how to get results. As a community organizer, I've made a real difference in people's lives. At Trinity Institution, I designed programs that continue to help the struggling families in this city. Programs that receive top ratings by the United Way. As chair for Albany for Obama, I organized an effective campaign in the capital region, registered hundreds of new voters, and brought people together from every neighborhood in this city, from all walks of life, to work together for a common purpose. And that common purpose was to get Barack Obama elected as president. And we did that. And as a member of the Common Council, I've seen firsthand how this city works and how sometimes it doesn't work. I've been outspoken where I saw problems, and I proposed solutions to those problems. Many might say I haven't. I propose solutions to those problems, like my plan to address the vacant building issue we have in this city. One thing you need to know about me. As mayor, I will have a zero-tolerance policy for any member of my administration who betrays the public's trust. I called for Chief Tuckey's resignation 3 months ago for this very same reason. And yesterday, we learned he was retiring amid serious allegations. But instead of calling for an investigation into those allegations, we thanked him for his service. In my administration, honesty and accountability will be a requirement to serve the citizens of Albany. Another critical difference between me and the mayor. I want to create a city where people want to live, not where people just want to come and have a good time. We've got to invest in our neighborhoods. Invest in our neighborhoods in a real way, where people can feel growth in those neighborhoods. I keep bringing this up because Albany will not succeed. We can't, people. We will not succeed if people continue to move out of this city. People continue to feel they don't have a voice in how their neighborhood is run and how their city is governed. Let's face it, if we do not do this, our city will not grow. This mayor has talked about the forces, we have outside forces that prevent us from being successful. But that's a defeatist attitude, and I'm not buying it. We can do better. We have to do better, people. We can't afford another scandal, questions about no bid contracts, or misconduct in city departments. We can't afford it. We can't afford another budget that is veiled in secrecy, that doesn't present every dime of spending to the taxpayers. We can't afford 4 more years of missed opportunities to help our neighborhoods, to solve the landfill issue, to ease the tax burdens that the property tax owners have, to partner up in a real way with our school district, and to improve public safety so people can feel safe in their neighborhoods and the kids who go to those schools can feel safe. When faced with questions about these issues, our mayor continues to say, sit tight. So let's not sit tight for another 4 more years. Let's stand up and make a change. Stand up for your city, people. This is your city. I'm standing here today as a voice for the voiceless. I'm standing here today because this city needs to move in a new direction. We can no longer have 4 more years of empty words and broken promises. And I promise you that I'm going to work hard. As an organizer, I'm used to working 6 hours a day, 14 hours. 14 hours a day. As we move forward, and we begin the process of bringing new energy to this city and new leadership, make no mistake about it. I stand here and promise you that if you stand with me on September 15th in the Democratic primary, you will have the city you deserve, and your voices will always be heard in my administration. Thank you.
For hosting this event. It's obvious that this is a very important election. You know, I'm proud of our city government. I'm proud of the people that have worked here for years to improve the quality of life. Yes, we have challenges. It's very easy to take a lot of rhetoric and say, okay, we can get this done and we can get that done. You know what? You have to be aggressive, and you do have to work 24/7 because that's my job. Just ask my wife, Mary Ann, poor woman, having to go through what she's going through for the past 15 and a half years. And as far as I'm concerned, you know, a healthy debate is good, but keep it in perspective.
When I took over in 1994, there wasn't a lot going on in the city. There wasn't a lot of reinvestment. There wasn't a lot of investment. We have accomplished a lot. We have created good opportunities for our kids. We have created $6 billion in new investment in the city and opportunities for our kids that go to college to stay here. We have put together people that really work 7 days a week to care about our kids in this city. And I keep mentioning our kids because you know what? I'm still a teacher. I'm not changing. They are a priority for me. That is one of the main driving forces in why I continued on as the mayor of this city. And I made a decision for this time because you know what? It's more difficult out there. Look at what's happening in the federal government and the state government from a financial point of view. They're not throwing money at urban centers. They're not saying, okay, here's the best. We have to have people that understand how to get things done and how to resolve problems. And, you know, my opponent keeps talking about vacant buildings. We got 1,200 vacant buildings. We're down to about 700. Buffalo's got 28,000. This city's, you know, people just don't come in and solve it. We have a plan. Our block by block is making a difference. It's going to continue to make a difference. It's going to continue to bring investment in here. Excuse me while I'm talking, okay? Thank you. And most importantly, I want the people of this city to know that, you know, I was born in the city in North Albany. My mom raised 3 of us alone. Didn't have any money. Impressed upon us the importance of getting a good education because then you can get out. You know, my brother, my sister, and myself learned from that. But we also had mentors in the community that looked at us and talked to us. People like Pastor Muller, who does that for a living. People that don't just do it at certain times or say, you know, we got a problem, we got to resolve it, and walk away. That's been my life. It was when I was at Albany High School. It's going to continue to be my life as your mayor. It's going to continue to be the most important priority for me in this city. Yes, I want people to move in the city, but I want the people that live in this city to feel good about living here. I want to make sure that they have confidence in what we're doing in our schools and in what's going on in the lives of their kids. And that's what it's all about. That's why it's so important that we continue to work together. I've had the honor and the privilege of being your mayor. Yes, this is my 16th year. It's almost as long as I've held the job, except working at Albany High School, okay? But you know what? I've enjoyed it because I'm in a position where I can make a difference in the lives of kids. I'm walking the streets too. I'm hearing from kids that went to school with me, you know, and said, you know, Mr. J, you know, at least we got by some of this stuff, or we resolved problems, we made things happen. That's encouraging to me. Now they have kids, and some of them have grandkids, so it tells you how old I'm getting. But you know, I haven't lost my love for this city. I haven't lost my energy, and I'm not going to give it up because some people think it's time for change that they can't really tell you how it's going to happen. We have a mission here in this city. We're going in the right direction. We're going to continue to go in the right direction, but I need your continued support. I really do. And people ask me about the long hours, and you know, there's no doubt that the events of 24/7 hours a day, I'm on call. My phone is never shut off. And I want to know what's going on in the city. I have to. I micromanage. People don't like it, but it's important that I do it. I love this city. I love the people in this city. I was born here. I'm going to stay here for a long time. And I want to continue to be your mayor because this is a challenging time in our history. This is a very, very challenging time. And I have to communicate with people that I know in state government and in federal government. I talked to Joe Biden about urban education. And he talked to me and said, come to D.C. I got an invite down. Because we have to stop just throwing money at issues and not coming up with a plan to make sure the money reaches our children, reaches our schools and our teachers. So I renew to each one of you my commitment, May the first day I took this office. And it's about keeping our streets safe. It's about making sure our kids are successful. It's about keeping our city finances sound. And those are tough decisions. And people don't understand how tough they really are. But I'll never stop fighting to build a brighter future for the city. I will never stop fighting to do the right thing for each and every one of you and your children. So I ask you to continue to support. I really do. I appreciate the honor of serving you. I'll never stop fighting for you. And as I said, I appreciate your support in the past. We are going to continue to move forward. Let's do it in a positive way, and let's talk about the good things about our great city. That's what sells a city, stressing the positive. Thank you all for coming.
The primary is the 15th.